I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996, I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
wild.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
What the fuck is up? Welcome to another Already Dead. I'm alive. We got Austin Picard here, a co-host as always, along with me. And then we have in the back doing the ones and twos, we got old Gray Pill Jules. You can
What's
hear
up,
him,
everybody?
a smooth voice there. But yeah, we're bringing with you another Already Dead. It's a live call-in conspiracy parapolitical variety show, whatever you want to call it. And we're gonna shoot the shit. Yeah, I wasn't here last week. You guys, Austin, Jules sat in as a co-host, and I thought it went well. I watched it. I thought it went well. I thought it was a good one.
Sweet.
I thought it
Thanks,
worked
buddy.
out. So
I was a little nervous at the beginning, but I feel like I at least settled in a little bit. But there were a few moments where I felt far too scatterbrained, and kind of lost the point that I was attempting to make. But I still think that it went well enough, and William's pretty great, so you can kind of wind him up on certain things. But it was fun though. I missed you, buddy.
yeah. I think it was good, and it'll be good whenever I don't have you to lean on for because I think we serve different things, so I can always lean on you for let's take a deep dive and just kind of pass a soft toss to you. Whereas I gotta rein you in sometimes, kind of deal. So it's like I'm gonna have to be able to actually be prepped and be able to talk. One of these days, you not be here and actually be able to fill the content, and
Right.
So although I have content to fill, I've been reading a bunch on the stuff of the Elohim City type shit right now. I've been reading in Bad Company. So I've been reading up on all the ARA shit, which is kind of pretty fucking interesting. It was. I definitely missed you guys, but yeah, I survived, guys. I made it. So it was not
never
that
more
bad.
nice. It was. Yeah. That's what I was seeing by at least a few different people that we actually know within the space that were within the area that was affected. It tended to be that way as far as their sort of reporting on the ground.
Yeah, well, the whole time, from my perspective, I was getting seeing Twitter and then global news or national news being like, oh my God, you're all gonna die. It's gonna hit you as a 5 or a 4. And then all the local news is it's probably gonna hit a 3, and the whole way through. And lo and behold, it hit a 3. And it I don't know, I had a lot of debris in my yard and it fucked up my fence a little bit, but all in all, not that bad. There were some trees uprooted I saw in some areas. Now, I'm probably, I want to say, just so people know where I am, just get an idea. I'm not trying to dox myself, but in the realm of the hurricane, I was, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 yards probably north of where the eye supposedly hit. And then I was, I don't know, I'm probably only 15 miles maybe inland. So I'm not on the coastal storm urge area. but I was like pretty much aside from like the flooding, like where it was hitting, and I put up my shutters in my house, and it wasn't that bad. I went outside, watched it a few times. I mean, it broke a fuckload of branches off some of my trees. But yeah, you're fine. Someone says, my house okay? Yeah, my house is fine. As I said, my fence got a little fucked up, but it was old. It was getting rotted out anyway, so it's time to either pull it down or replace it. So, hey, whatever. But aside from that, the main house is fine. We're all good. It's just annoying cleanup. And yeah, and it took it was a good while that I didn't have power. I got power back Sunday night is when I got back. So that sucked, but
we're happy you're okay.
Yeah, we're fine. So just so people know what it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were definitely people who got hit pretty friggin' hard. If you were on the coast and you didn't evacuate, you were stupid. But I didn't evacuate, and it's like I had family calling me, like acting like I was gonna die. And I was like, like it gets you a little bit. You're like, I don't feel like I'm gonna die. Like I've been through this a lot. Like this doesn't seem bad. Like all the feelings I'm getting from like the local news, not that bad. But the world's like it's gonna hit you as a 5, and it didn't. I mean, it sucked. We lost a lot of power. Yeah, that's the worst part of it, probably. It did a lot of damage. It had a good deal amount of wind. But anyways, I guess hard segue somehow into weather manipulation.
Right. I just thought it was so funny that that was kind of all that I kept seeing on my timeline was basically HARP hurricanes and people questioning weather manipulation and weather warfare, which, hey, at least my algorithm's fairly based, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have like AOC running this parallel narrative of this is just conveniently timed climate change, of course, and which, hey, storms happen. You know what I mean? But
Dude,
I will say,
I was listening to Sam's episode on weather manipulation today, and I don't know how legit this is, but it did kind of mind fuck me. Where I think he said it was like an over 10-year period where no hurricanes, made any sort of landfall, and then we exited the Paris Accords, and since then it's been just consistent. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure a lot of things on a global scale happened. So just trying to connect these two dots. But just the idea that there was that long of a period. And like, I don't know. It just feels like there's one that hits all the time. Living in Florida, it's like, it seems like every other year I get at least a hurricane. So it's like, that's astounding that we would go that long without having a hurricane. But I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and buddy, I mean, I did not go into my episode on DARPA and the LifeLog project thinking that I would be basically convinced of weather manipulation and weather warfare for generations and for military applications, right? But far more than that. At this point, it's been
what was it? Operation Popeye? Was that against Cuba? That was either against Cuba or that was against Vietnam. I think.
Vietnam. Yeah. and that really just boggled my mind when I discovered that was true and that they were actually capable of this geoengineering project, right? And it was declassified, and inevitably it was revealed and acknowledged, right, by official sources and the authorities. And so it's just like I pulled up. By the way, I think Jim Lee was the name of that guy who was on.
Yep. I just followed him today. Follow me back, motherfucker, because I will after a while unfollow. I'm petty like that.
Yeah, I remember I heard him. It had to have been on TFH. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was definitely over a year ago. I don't know how long ago it honestly has been, but yeah, I was pretty blown away by his approach and just the receipts that he had, and also he'd I think testified at specific hearings.
By the way, for those who know the site that Jim Lee kept bringing up in that episode, if you did watch it, put in the chat, because I would like to bring that up, because he did keep referring to it as if it was some sort of great resource. So if
I think he has another site, but I have one pulled up just now that it's called climateviewer.com. I remember I saved it. That might be it.
That might be one.
Yeah.
I think that was
saved it back when I first discovered him. It had to have been TFH. But anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed his sort of presentation. It was like it got into all the, like I said, the actual credible receipts and of course he would speculate and get off into
Mhm.
the weeds and at certain times, and I think he even qualified that 10-year drought as being like essentially 5 years. It was basically 5 years. There were only like up to category 1 and 2s were basically, it was very like you know not as powerful as far as the hurricanes were concerned, and so therefore they weren't necessarily making landfall. And then there was 5 years consecutively of no hurricanes, um, apparently, right, reaching land, and so that alone is very strange. And then of course Jim, I believe he had testified at EPA hearings and stuff like that as well. But what I always thought was just honestly extraordinary, man, is just DARPA's military applications for this, right? Which is what Project Popeye was. But of course, like, you had The Economist, like they kind of gave like examples of extraordinary DARPA projects and described DARPA as the agency that shaped the modern world, and then said that Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine sits alongside weather satellites, GPS, drones, stealth technology, voice interfaces, the PC, the personal computer, and the internet. ARPANET, or what was it? ARPANET was the first one on the list of innovations for which DARPA can claim at least partial credit, right? And they, of course, don't mention directed energy weapons or or the weather modification aspect of this. The systems-based neurotechnology for emerging therapies is a program that they were also conducting, and it's been pitched by DARPA as a brain implant to help soldiers struggling with PTSD, basically, and traumatic brain injuries, anxiety, substance abuse, all these different applicable, right, like methods for use. But anyway, they created. If you look into the details of DARPA, they even created insect cyborgs in a HIMEMS program, and allegedly developed tightly coupled machine insect interfaces and placed micromechanical systems inside the insects during the early stages of metamorphosis. So this is why people say that, you know, insects, right? Like there's actually like mutated, right? Like cyborg insects, like
Yeah, there's actually.
legitimately, why they could say that they would inevitably weaponize mosquitoes, right? One of the purposes that they were looking into, and you know, the weather modification is really kind of like been dismissed in the public, consciousness as more of like this way to direct the weather to, like, as if it's a way to decrease, right, the overall uh, powerful effect or category of the storm itself. But
I
they
mean, if you can do
also,
that, the flip side would be you can make it bigger.
exactly, and they also admitted
Yeah.
just as much, right, to doing exactly that. And
Because
so,
it's like I was explaining this to my wife, and I was like, it sounds like where our technology's at, like say with something like a hurricane, is it's like it can like you could move it. Like say applicable reason why someone would want this some sort of hurricane technology is to prevent it from touching down, to essentially divert them into less populated back into the ocean, and so they just kind of dissipate type deal. Now that would be a good use for something like that if you could just kind of sort of nudge it that way. But now what's the flip side of that? Like what if you can do that, what else can you do? Like because so I think it's good to put it in those terms of like, hey, I don't know, like why wouldn't we have these, like why wouldn't this technology be able to exist if you wouldn't be able to nudge it in certain ways? And there are like receipts out there that show like they've done some of this research. So, and then once they can do it, it's kind of almost like, why wouldn't you?
exactly,
Because it's like at the very least, you would do it to do what I just said and be like, hey, we're using these technologies to protect our coast and protect our individuals who live along those areas and protect, as many people as possible, and to kind of divert these into less populated areas. And that way we don't have to deal with people dying from these awful natural disasters. Now we're able to control this, but we don't know about it. So, I mean, maybe it doesn't exist. Maybe we're just being schizo here, but it's like, I don't know. It seems to be there's some things that indicate that they can manipulate things. I mean, wasn't it like the Saudis like fucking literally caused it to rain over there with cloud seeding?
Yeah, it was in Dubai,
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi, and they consistently cloud seed over there and admit as much, and they had like a huge, I believe they had like major flooding, and isn't that Abu Dhabi's where they have to like just to deal with the human waste involved in the area? Wow, that's crazy. Where is that? You know where that is, Jules?
Let me see.
That's nuts, man.
Is
that from Milton, or is that in
I would assume probably Elaine.
Yeah, it looks like
Josie posted it. I don't know. Is that the Everglades, or I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're along the coast, yeah, it would have been pretty wild, in certain areas.
But what is that shit? That's like a wave pool or something. That's not natural.
Well, what was up with the Black Hawk helicopters basically destroying like volunteer supply zones in North Carolina? Because
I never got to look into that. I don't know how
I haven't either at any real level of depth, but I just consistently saw those reports and then the videos cropping up on social media.
I did see they were trying to run with this militia members hunting down FEMA storyline that ended up being bullshit. I saw Ken talking about that today. That seemed to be the angle they were trying to do. Like, oh, it's because all these hillbillies are intimidating FEMA. It's kind of like the impression they're trying to give people of like, it's because the natives are hostile.
What the fuck? That's hilarious.
That's kind of the vibe I get from it. Yeah, Redbeard saying that's an older video. By the way, I saw something there earlier where he was telling you, Jules, something about a fucking group chat you guys I guess are in, and something for you to look at. So yeah, I don't know what there we go. Jules, check the DR group chat. I sent in a video about Bouvet Island. What group chat? Do we have a group chat for the show? What the fuck is that? All right, cool.
No.
By the way,
hear you, Jules.
Oh, Jules is there you go. Here you go, bud.
Do you want me to add you?
I don't know what this group chat is. Probably not.
Probably not.
The dangerous retard chat.
Oh, okay. I got you. You're in that one. No. But by the way, for those who aren't aware, we do have. I created a little.
I got you, Redbeard.
There's a Tower Gang has a Telegram. So if you want to talk to some of, at least me, you can hop in there. So you support them. But I'm thinking about maybe adding a tab for my stuff. But sorry. Anyways, we got off topic.
Nemrock just said the excuse was the helicopters were National Guard pilots who tried to land in the wrong places. I guess that's possible. I mean, he definitely said that. I remember Namrock's post around that same time basically perfectly demonstrated the fact that government is inherently wasteful, right? And incompetent, right? Especially in times of crisis. And his post, I believe it like pointed out the fact that apparently the government had shipped 3 pallets of electric chainsaws to a community with no power. And it just makes perfect sense, right? Like, isn't that what government's best at? Is just completely wasting any resources of any value, and then of course not actually competently responding in a time of crisis. Like,
which, by the way, I was supposed to have Amy Lepore on last Thursday, but Thursday was literally when I got slammed with that. I guess who's that? She's like a, how do I explain her? I forget what LP she was running up for a while, but the big thing is why she's pertinent now is I guess she's a emergency management expert, but she's also, as I said, libertarian. I'm not sure if he's full on ANCAP. I'm pretty sure she might be. So she's kind of based one of our camp in that realm. So it'll be an interesting conversation with her to kind of like, how would we do this in a more free society? How would they deal with this? Would this be handled better? Also, just kind of talking about, juxtaposing against how much we're spending on Ukraine and Israel, which we have plenty to talk about with
Dude, we just
that.
spent 2.2 billion, or just sent 2.2 more billion dollars in as far as a weapons deal with, I believe it's Saudi and UAE. So we're just racking it up before.
By the way,
guys.
I meant to announce, because we were just talking about targeting a second ago, we have Owen Benjamin on tomorrow. Just letting you guys know. Throw him out there.
I figured he was going to come on tomorrow. Hey, these clouds aren't fucking real.
Dude, what do you think about the that strange Northern Lights effect?
Well, I had something up about that. Let me stop sharing and go to it, and then I'll bring it back up. Something weird with that, dude. Some people are saying that it's hard.
Yeah, the clouds.
No, I would. Were you saying the Northern Lights effect or whatever? That. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about how everyone was saying they could see the the lights.
Yeah, very wide ranging too.
Yeah,
as
That
far
was
as
the first
reports.
video that I brought up on accident.
Well, I attribute that maybe to lack of noise, light pollution. Because
Here we
when
go.
I went out after the hurricane, it was fucking beautiful out. That's because everyone's power was out, so it's there was no lights. So I would assume that maybe that has some sort of effect for allowing you to be able to see the Northern Lights better. I have no idea. So although it's kind of nuts, I was hearing people say some shit about being able to see it in Florida and shit. So that seems excessive even for not having light pollution.
Exactly.
So, the heart glow is a red or green air glow that can be created by the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program in Gacona, Alaska.
That's real.
What?
That's real. Dude, look it up. There's it's amazing.
Wait, are
There's
you telling me the Northern Lights aren't real and it's just
dude, that's going to disappoint me.
It's been Jew trickery all along.
I would not at all be shocked.
There's not even a magical place I can go to in the north and go, oh wow, that's so beautiful. Look how nature does that. No, that's just us
old
with
Jew
our
magic.
Yeah, that's us with our fucking weather magic. That's all that is.
I'm telling
That's
you.
all HARP is, man. It's just weather magic. Ancient Babylonian weather magic.
Dude,
guys.
what the fuck? You gotta be kidding me.
Let's look at this video. Hold on.
Someone tell me northern or southern or whatever fucking lights are real.
You think you're seeing the Northern Lights? Think again.
Ooh.
Well,
I can't read that small, and I'm thinking.
I know, dude. I'm trying.
So there we go.
Ooh.
That's the same shit. I
Hold
guess
on.
if you pause it, there's some more to read in there. Yeah, HARP creates air glow by exciting electrons in Earth's ionosphere, similar how solar energy creates natural aurora. Or does it? With on and off pulses of high-frequency radio transmissions. HARP's ionospheric research instrument, a phased array of 180 high-frequency antennas spread across 33 acres, can radiate 3.6 megawatts. Yeah, it does a lot. You know what's wild, though? It made me think of, it's literally, it's all this sciencey talk, but at the end of the day, it's ooga booga, how you see in, magic movies,
Look,
where
dude,
literally a green aura
acres.
or colored aura, and that's how always in movies that signifies magic or power or something.
Yeah,
that's all it is. That's all. That's
Jose,
yeah,
33 acres, dude.
Oh,
What did I say? I
Confirmed.
saw 88 just recently too. I was just
Illuminati confirmed.
I think it was. Anyway, I just know that
hey, Namrock, Northern Lights are real. Northern Lights in Southern Ohio and Virginia.
They are,
but
yeah.
one of those said there was a spot in Alaska. So it's are they still just fucking with you there too?
right.
Yeah.
Well, Alaska's for sure where they had the facility, right? The HARP facility.
I'm gonna need some documented examples of Northern Lights prior to 1900. That's what I need. Right? Is this gonna be a pandas thing where you're we come to find out pandas aren't real, right. Just the Northern Lights aren't real?
That's so
okay.
funny.
All right. Well, there's an outside possibility, a really really outside possibility. Northern Lights aren't real. It's all just weather magic that you're literally visually seeing. Yeah.
But man,
hey.
In 2008. All right. Like I mentioned earlier, the ecologist, it was in 2008 that they reported that this rarely acknowledged fact in the debate on global climate change which is the world's weather can now be modified as part of a new generation of sophisticated electromagnetic weapons.
I think
This
they're
is the
literally at the
ecologist.
poles just doing magic and like green energies forming around them, and that goes
It's
out.
insane, dude. You look up the facilities. It honestly, it freaked me out a little bit because it truly is like they are playing God in every way possible that you could ever even imagine, right? And that effect on global society, right? Like it's unmeasurable at this point, right? Like I don't even know how the fuck you could measure something like that, right? Like the true effect when it comes down to.
I mean, it's the idea of almost like hurting a god in a sense. I mean, maybe not like a literal god in like the big G, like Judaic, but like a god, literally hurting a god because you're literally
Right.
directing it where you want it to go.
100%,
And you
man.
know, it may be manipulating it by soothing it or irritating it more or less along its path. So, like, you know, which is kind of a wild power to behold. Like yeah, they put it in terms of joules and like the energy it produces, and it's pretty insane when you think about like how much energy a hurricane does. So what you could do with that is pretty wild. Obviously, it's not very precise, but I don't know. Although maybe it is more precise than we think. We saw one of the big components, and they talked about this in Sam's episode. A big components of the storm. One of the worst things I heard, some of the most horrific stories I heard from this, was the hurricane, or not the hurricane, but the tornadoes that just kind of popped up, because those do tend to happen more often in hurricanes just because of the weather conditions that are kicking up. So I mean, I don't know. You could. I mean, I don't know if you're able to pinpoint it that much to have certain areas that are more likely to have tornadoes. I don't know. I mean, yeah, and this is all too big nerdy talk for me, but I mean, it just seems like why wouldn't they be able to do this? Like it's just manipulating atmospheric conditions slightly, right? Like warming up, cooling down, moving air over here, moving air over there. It's not that crazy. We'd have figure out means to do so.
I heard in that episode with Jim, I haven't listened to the full thing, but I did hear he said something. He kind of put it in the context of, I believe, like his wife asked him the question, like, well, if China and Russia are capable of doing this, like, why shouldn't we be doing this?
Yeah,
And
which
and
is kind
I'm
of
just
the point I was getting at with like,
yeah,
we kind of should be, but like I want you to let me know you are, and the idea
Right.
is that you're supposedly doing it to, you know, to
No doubt.
beneficial. But when you're pretending like this technology doesn't exist, and we're at a point where it seems like anyone who really looks into it a little bit that it probably does, and it's like, well, why aren't you telling me about it? What are you doing with this technology? And I don't know, maybe we're at a tipping point where they'll start to kind of nudge towards, look at this heroic thing we did with this new up and coming weather technology. You know, maybe we'll start getting fed stories like that, and then it's like, look at these benefits, and then, but you know what? That's a positive thing, I guess, in a sense, because then the gig will be up at some point. You're like, hey, you can't kill a bunch of people because it's like we know you can just go that way, bitch, kind of with the with the hurricane. Like you can't pull this anymore on us. But it does seem like that would be something they wouldn't want to give up. So at the end of the day, I guess more people are aware of this, the more they have to start limited hanging out their way out of it and start inserting those stories. Which at that point, then it's in the open, and it's like if you're going to use it, you're going to have to probably be a little bit more benevolent with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And really, it's kind of sad because they have sort of been, well, it's been outwardly acknowledged, right? So just many different, like I said, just examples that we can point to over the course of what, since at least the 1970s. I think it potentially goes back a little, prior to even that. But honestly, and this basically what this article was claiming was that both the US and Russia have developed these capabilities, right, to manipulate the climate for military use. And so environmental modification techniques have been applied by the US military for more than half a century, right? And so a US mathematician, John von Neumann, in liaison with the US Department of Defense, started his research on weather modification, and yes, in the late 1940s at the height of the Cold War, and foresaw forms of climatic warfare as yet unimagined. Now, and this was when Project Popeye during the Vietnam War, as far as cloud seeding techniques were used starting in 1967 under Project Popeye, and the objective of which was to prolong the monsoon season and block enemy supply routes along with the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The US military has developed advanced capabilities that enable it selectively to alter weather patterns. The technology, which is being perfected under the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HARP, is an appendage of the Strategic Defense Initiative, Star Wars. Fuck, like Reagan, man. And so, like, it's very interesting when you get into this, because from a military standpoint, HARP is a weapon of mass destruction, man.
The funny thing is, Star Wars was most people think of that in reference to like the government and like their operations, is when they were, I believe if I recall correctly, that was when they were pushing for a big crazy air defense system or some shit that was gonna be super duper space stuff, and everyone just kind of looks at it like, oh, that was crazy, that didn't really work. But it's like, but on the side they were doing this weather shit that most people didn't really pay attention to and realize that was part of it as well. Because one point they brought up in Sam's episode was about this kind of puts in perspective what Space Force could be.
Right.
What they're, because they're more working on like satellites and stuff like that.
I
got
really. To that part.
Yeah, well, it makes sense when you think about it. You're like, oh shit,
that,
because if these are things that are being manipulated, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things going on there. I mean, this is all satellites, nerd shit. It makes sense that you would fucking start to devote some sort of branch or, to it, essentially. Not that I necessarily agree with it, but, I'm not a big fan of the military altogether. But, whatever. It makes sense from that perspective that you would be like, yo, we got to control the skies.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
But, yeah. So you want to get a little bit into Israel? Let's talk about what's the deal with it. I didn't really get to pay attention too much. You mentioned something of the journalist. I saw bits and pieces here and there. Can you explain that story to me real quick? And then obviously me and you, and then I know a little bit more about like what we want to talk about after that. But I'm kind of interested in what the deal is with that journalist story, because I saw that someone got locked up, I believe, from the Gray Zone. Right, which is where our buddy, God, I forget his name,
Max Blumenthal. I think
have we had him on the show before? I'll think of him later. How can I not think of his name? I always mix him and Ken, I believe, up. I have a buddy from the Gray Zone that's been on the show a couple times. Sorry. He's always does the kind of like asking politicians, the tough questions type bit. Liam. Oh, Liam, not McCollum. No, it's him and McCollum.
Right?
Cosgrove, that's what I was talking about. Yep, yep.
Okay,
he's over the Gray Zone. So he's someone I know over there. That's all I know. I know he's got, it's got I don't know how many people they have over there, so I don't know how significant it is. I've never really looked into it.
I think I know Max, and Max has always just been great. I don't agree with him on everything politically. Obviously.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a lefty, but he's pretty
very
good.
Much so. But he's such a great journalist, man, and he's truly an ethical journalist. It seems that way, and so he's just been a very valuable source and a very credible source throughout a lot of different conflicts. And I've seen him receive so much, just hateful character smears, like just things that come with the territory when you happen to be a credible, prominent Jewish individual. Like reporting about the excessive war crimes of the Israeli state. So
Blumenthal, I believe, is probably one of the ones that's been really, 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 really good on the October 7th fear porn bullshit.
100%.
Yeah, we haven't gone to that yet, Jules. We'll get into that in a second, but I guess you can just go and leave that up. He's been really good on that. Who was the journalist that got for here, and what was the fucking reasoning there?
So essentially, his name's Jeremy Lafredo, I believe is how you pronounce it, and he really was just arrested for reporting on the strikes and where the Iranian strikes, as far as the targeted, where the targets, as far as the missile strikes themselves, where they actually hit within Israel. He reported on that. And that specifically was labeled as intelligence to the enemy, essentially, is what happened. And so Jeremy Lafredo, this American journalist for the Gray Zone, arrested by the Israeli military for his reporting inside Israel. And so he was jailed for a few days after releasing this report on Iranian missile strikes in Israel, information the Israeli military has been trying to censor. And so, according to the Israeli news site, because of the report, Lafredo faces charges of aiding the enemy during wartime and providing information to the enemy. And representatives from the U.S. Embassy attended a hearing on a police request to
Real quick to back up for those who aren't following, just to put a little bit in layman's term to rewind back. The reasoning here between why it would matter with the reporting is it seems like Israel has been trying to downplay the damage that occurred from the attacks from Iran. And obviously Iran has every incentive to want to exaggerate a little bit, and Israel's gonna have the opposite incentive. So that's what's going on here. It seems to be he was reporting on I guess a little bit what was embarrassing to Israel, them being attacked, because there's been a couple times now they've gone attacked, and it's kind of seems like, what is this fucking state-of-the-art defense system you have? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about military equipment or anything to tell you anything about it, but it just seems like, from the layman's perspective, you're like, this looks like some bullshit. It kind of looks like you guys are sitting ducks or fucking with the wrong people. So it is kind of like a tough guy thing. It's all that it is. Yeah. It's like, you didn't fucking hurt me at all. And then, you got people from the Gray Zone going, well, I think they got hurt a little bit. That's what's kind of going on here. So they're, in a certain sense, that is, in a PR perspective, they're not wrong. Israel is like, he is aiding the enemy in their posturing, essentially, because it's like but by doing that is just providing the truth. So you got to be careful how people word these things, because it may be true, but it doesn't mean it's right.
And apparently the Gray Zone reported that the criminal case against him, because on the 11th he was then ordered released from Israeli jail, and so I guess basically it all fell apart after an Israeli journalist testified that his own article containing Lafredo's full video report had cleared military censorship, yet Israel refuses to let Lafredo leave the country. So, yeah, he's basically, a political prisoner at this point, and he's an American, right? An American journalist, which I'm not at all shocked. If you know about the USS Liberty, it's not, it's not something that.
I don't think anything is going to happen to him, but I would. They're not like above it. Like, if you don't understand the history of Israel, it's just that anything would happen to him. I think it's just kind of like a subtle mob tactic of like, oh, we got him over here.
Yep.
Yeah. So
for sure. And Ramzi Baroud is like, he's a journalist himself. He's done phenomenal work on reporting on Yemen and Gaza and a lot of these conflicts. And his sister was just targeted and blown up in her taxi cab in Israel. And it's just like, my God, a paid contributor to antiwar.com, a phenomenal journalist, someone with real skin in the game, and Israel essentially targeted his sister, who I believe was a doctor of some kind or something along those lines. But either way, this is happening, consistently, right? This is no unique story in my opinion. It's just another window into these.
This made me think of, I was trying to look for it just now. Sorry if I didn't seem like I was paying attention. I was trying to look for Cosgrove's, and I'm wondering if there's any incidental timing here. Not to say that it's Cosgrove's fault, but what was it, Blinken, I believe? It might have been Blinken or some bigwig over at DOD. He was questioning, and he really grilled him about, kind of the Gaza stuff, and like kind of talked him down, kind of like, yo, the fuck? So I'm like, that was a bad look. So it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. That one was like, I wonder what the timing on that is. Is that like an embarrassing
Absolutely.
look? Not that I don't know. I don't know how if that really got that much
That
publicity.
is
I mean,
interesting.
there also is the timing too with Blumenthal and him blowing up their war atrocity propaganda because he has
Right.
been Johnny on the spot for that shit. Like he's not been letting that fly. That's been probably one of the big things. He like hard in the paint. Like he was like, I was pretty flabbergasted with some of the throughout the course of from a year from like ago with October 7th, just the times him coming out like right on the spot, being like, nope, that's bullshit.
I
Like
know.
that, like some wartime propaganda, and just like balls on the
Absolutely.
table, like you guys are fucking lying. Those people didn't
Mhm.
get raped. And you're like, whoa, this is
For
pretty
sure.
wild to say that didn't happen. So certainly, but
I
like,
know, right?
because I mean, like obviously, if that's true, you are like you're just like I don't know, stating with certainty something you clearly weren't
Yeah.
certain of. But yeah, I don't know. I guess when you look into it that much, I mean, I've dug into it a bunch. It seems that's the case. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm rambling a little bit here, but yeah, I forgot where we're at. Oh, I guess we probably should back it up and get back to the kind of what's going on now in. I don't. Is there anything on the journalists? That's what we were talking about. I zoned out a little bit
I
there.
mean,
Is
really,
there
it's
anything on? I mean, it seems like he's a political prisoner.
yeah, that's
I
just
mean,
basically where we're
yeah,
at, is that an American journalist was imprisoned
yeah.
for doing journalism, and
I mean, I'm a little bit wonder if the move was just to delay the reporting and
yeah,
maybe he will get out of there eventually because they were they already kind of did what they were trying to do or attempted to do
exactly.
what they were trying to do. So I don't know, but either way, Gray Zone has some pretty fucking big balls.
For real, dude. Yeah, they're doing such valuable, critical journalism. It's amazing, and same goes for antiwar.com. If I just think that, just, my God, like to be able to objectively report on all these different international conflicts for as long as they have. I just have all the respect in the world for Scott and Justin Raimondo before him, honestly. And so, yeah, I will always just kind of go there first to get a little window into a story, and then kind of take my time and find other reports and suss it out for myself. But yeah, I just once you realize that Israel is legitimately targeting UN peacekeepers in Lebanon
Hmm.
and bombing civilian apartment buildings and I mean, all the while they're targeting safe zones. I mean, hospital safe zones in Gaza, right? And just to
Yeah.
witness, right? Children burning alive and man, just having that go across your timeline.
Yeah, because you're referring to they believe they just correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they bombed essentially back up in northern Gaza. Now they've done some.
Yeah.
They're back up there bombing, which seems like I would assume some people in northern Gaza probably had just assumed it would have chilled out, and were probably like so. Probably took them a little bit by storm. That like what the fuck. But yeah, people in the essentially the tents outside the hospital being cared for is what it seems like. That's my
Yeah,
understanding of the situation.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at least within like a 24-hour period, at least 62 were killed, and then like around 200 were injured um, as a result. But I believe that was that event. But either way, it's just again war crimes, right? Like the most, just honestly, man, like
Yeah.
disturbing war crimes with direct support from the United States, and not even a word
Yeah.
otherwise.
Jules, you want to sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You want to bring up
It's
that
okay, buddy.
article that's in the chat that you have up? By the way, you probably need to start remembering to close that chat. Luckily, we don't ever say anything bad in there, but one of these days. Yeah, one of these days. So,
For
but yeah,
real. Well, I mean,
yeah,
meanwhile, right? Like
yeah,
you see the same report of the deploying the THAAD missile system and additional troops, 100 troops, something to that effect, and this is all coming off the heels of, right? Well, first of all, America is also, we have United States officials at the site. Did you also see, Dave DeCamp reported this earlier, legitimately hosting, meetings at the site where the mass rape occurred, right? Where all the torture on Palestinian prisoners and prisoners of war actually occurred. They were hosting meetings there and talks with Israeli officials and
Jules, you
just
want to
kind
bring up
of
the article itself? Like, click on the link and bring that up. So, sorry, go ahead.
just kind of adding insult to injury, though. Basically is the case. But yeah, so all the while they're sitting over here coordinating with Israeli officials on this preeminent attack on Iran, which they announced, right? I mean, Netanyahu basically said that this is going to occur before the election takes place, right? This major retaliation, and he claims, I believe even the Washington Post reported that it would be a series of retaliatory efforts, right? Basically, so, and these strikes would be strikes within Iran itself. So, of course, they promised to U.S. officials it would only be military targets, and they wouldn't target nuclear facilities and oil, facilities either. And so, but then of course we just hand over a high altitude area defense battery and again troops to Israel to get skin in the game as well, because all you have to have are reports of American troops dying in this conflict, and instantly you have at least a percentage, of kind of,
There we go. All right, yeah. Just so this article is, I wanted to see if we could find. I didn't get a chance to read through it myself, but I'm assuming we'll probably find some good quotes or information. But essentially, the bulk of this article is kind of laying out for us that, like, hey, Israel's essentially saying, nope, we're not doing any sort of ceasefire. You can fuck off with that shit. And they're essentially kind of committing to what everyone's been saying they're doing the entire time, which is ethnically cleansing in preparation for later Jewish settlements.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much more clearly they need to stay. They're literally just trying to kill or displace anyone that they need be. But I don't know. Let's skim through this, see if there's anything. Whoa, slow down there, buddy. Israel government done with ceasefire talks annexation or seeks annexation of Gaza. Defense officials told Haaretz on Sunday that the Israeli government is not seeking to revive ceasefire talks, with Hamas is now pushing for the gradual annexation. Let me see if there's any other good meat. Scroll down a little bit.
I thought this was all just a reaction from October 7th.
Is it? Yeah.
It's just it's so ridiculous. What was that tweet by what's his name? I like him a lot. He's a cool dude. I'll find it real quick. Go ahead, continue.
Oh yeah, it's right here. Here's a good portion of it. Israel newspaper Yedioth Arnaroth, whatever, has reported that Israeli forces in Jabalia are carrying out a scaled-down version of the general's plan, an outline for the complete ethnic cleansing of northern Gaza and the killing of any Palestinians who choose to stay, whether by military action or starvation. So this is exactly what all of us have been saying from the beginning, that they were just flagrantly going to take the land. Because the thing is, literally the game plan that we've all been saying is anytime it comes to Palestinians and Israel, it's literally just to make their conditions shitty, trying to get them to leave, and then over time, when they can get away with it, when it doesn't completely fly in the face of international support, when they have some sort of way to give some sort of even the weakest of credences to doing it, they will, kill or bomb or do anything they can to drive these people out of their areas. That way they can take the land. It literally is. I mean, what was it? Fucking Netanyahu. I can't remember when he was this at. Was this when this may have been when he was actually addressing the United States, but maybe not. He was recently seen at the podium with a fucking, Greater Israel thingamajig. You're like, dude, what the fuck? What does that mean? For those who don't know what Greater Israel is, look into that.
Yeah.
I don't know why this group in the Middle East that are clearly fucking Europeans have this idea that they are somehow entitled to a bunch of land that's not even under the current, deal. Essentially, this is a government that still believes they're entitled to a larger portion than they already have for
Absolutely
some fucking reason.
Anyone, it's very obvious that anyone who even becomes remotely willing to negotiate, they instantly become a target, right? And I mean, that was just the case with the recent assassinations. Like, they were in the midst of, they just so happened to become willing to negotiate, and terms were being like issued at this at it's just amazing, because more examples than one prove they'll just assassinate you if you adopt any sort of policy of peace, right? And so, like, by the way, that tweet was Joel Ellenwood. He's cool. I like that dude. He tweeted the other day, which is more retarded, left wingers still wearing masks, right wingers saying Israel is just defending itself. I just thought it's a perfect way to put it, honestly, because that truly is, like, how could you even imagine making that argument?
Well, I think once a black stole one of my bikes, and so now I think I'm justified to wipe out their entire race.
Shit.
To be fair, it's not as accurate, I guess, with Israel, because Israel's, it literally is, like, weirdly just kind of about the land. Like, it's really what it comes down to is the land. So, and so I don't know. I don't know if it's like, it's not like, I don't know how to say this, the proper way to say this. It's not that they want to kill them all. It's just they don't care if they have. If that's what they have to do. You know what I mean? Like, like, it's not like the end objective is that all of them must die. It's that all of them must leave. Like whether that means dying, they don't care.
No,
like,
they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. So. And I mean, it is important that this general's plan that you mentioned is just, it was also known as the island plan, something like that. And it was allegedly to secure the defeat of Hamas, but it's without a doubt outlines an ethnic cleansing campaign. And in those terms, which is just extraordinary in itself. And then the issue that I really have, I can't seem to distance myself from this frustration, which is just the fact that you see what influence inevitably wins out through the sort of the campaign positioning and how they kind of the messaging in terms of Israel, right?
Yep.
And it's amazing to me.
I don't know if it was me and you that talked about this recently, but maybe it was me and Ken. But it's like, you just even look at like Matt Gaetz with all of this Iran shit, and like, these officials. So like, are you really that fucking stupid? You really that much of a fucking boomer that you're just like, dirt, Iran did it because fucking some spook told me. I mean, sure, but it's like, that is one of the better ones. Like, and that's where we're at. Like, that's, even he still ends up lying prostrate at fucking Israel's best. And even with the best one out there, Thomas Massey, I don't think you'd ever, and I'm not even necessarily asking him to do so, I don't think you'd ever hear him make any sort of like condemnation of anything Israel's doing. Just, it literally is just I want nothing to do with it. That's what it comes down to. So, because if he gave even the slightest condemnation of any awful thing they did, any act of war crime, it would very much backfire him. Just the idea that he doesn't want even to fund them is enough to get them to fucking do everything they can to run him out of office. So, yeah, I mean, he's probably, in my opinion, probably one of the only people who's worth a damn. And literally, you know what? The best litmus test is kind of, are you an apex stooge? And I mean, he's not. So yeah. So like, I don't know. He might be the one good politician.
I know, and that's very difficult for me to ever say, but it is worth recognizing when someone is at the very least deserving of it. And that was, Ron Paul forever for me was just, and still to the date, the rest of my life, I love and respect Ron Paul, but I'll never forget, his farewell speech to Congress, right? essentially just saying give peace a chance. Like it's just like I cried like a baby, brother. Like when I when I listened to that, and it's something that we must always appreciate is some sort of foundational principle that leads to that exact outcome. Whether we appreciate, you know, I don't know, even using government as a tool in the first place, that's sort of a different issue almost entirely because it exists. And so we should at the very least be willing and able to acknowledge the good ones when they actually deserve it. Right. And yeah, Thomas Massey is one of those that and again, I am very just like, I don't know, I'm very skeptical of the story of his wife and how
Oh
she
yeah.
inevitably her demise, but
Well,
you know,
let's
it's pure
come
speculation,
back to
of
that.
course.
I do want to transition over to the call-in portion. I mean, we're going to
Cool.
continue our talk about Israel, Ukraine. We have more to talk on about that, but before we get into it, I do want to let you guys know that today's episode was brought to you by Nadeau Shave Co. This it really is. This is like, I think there's like grown man shaving stuff is what this is. Like I've gotten to the point like this is. I dig this. I really do dig it. It's one blade. It gives you about like a better shave than you would get from like a Fusion razor or something like that. A better shave. It fucks my skin up less. It's way more economical. I mean, the rate when I was doing like the multi-blade cartridges, how long that would last me, or how much that would cost me. Probably good double, triple, maybe even quadruple throughout the course of the year. These you pay about $70 for the entire year. That's going to get you the traditional safety razor. It's $75, my bad, and the 100 stainless steel razor blades. But if you do shave in the regular, you might want to consider the Quarter Shave Club. You can get those at 25% cents per replacement blade. You can go to doeshaveco.com. Use Jose to get 10% off your entire order. He's also got 3-in-1 body, hair, and face soap bars too. I really dig that stuff. Some good smelling stuff. Feels good on the skin. Highly recommend it. It's great having a product that supports me. These are... and that I don't have to feel like I'm lying saying I support it, because this is dope shit. And so if you want to support me and get something out of it, support these guys so they can support me. I do remind you guys they're a COVID mandate refusing company. This company was literally born out of that. But yeah, let's get back into it. All right, we got Austin here. Now let me bring up give me a second, guys. 941-281-5857. You guys can use that number to call in and talk to us. Also, if you guys are patrons of me or Austin, you guys can go check out, and the most recent post of ours will have a link where you guys can come in and be a talking head alongside me and Austin, shoot the shit with us, or we'll just see what's going on in the chat, see what you guys are saying. You guys can shape the conversation there. But I do think I did want to kind of touch on the Massey thing, and the only reason why is because I think I want to ask that Foundering guy, which I believe he's the guy who does music for like InfoWars and stuff like that. Yeah. I just got a follow from him recently because he was talking about Yiki. Awesome. So I think he was bringing up the Massey thing recently, kind of like what the fuck's going on with that, because this is weird. Really? We never heard again, and I guess I don't know.
Right?
I mean, to be fair, respect this guy's privacy. It's just something he just didn't really want to talk about. I get it, but I will say, just a little weird. It's just a little weird that like, hey, like apparently she was out, hiking like a week prior. He wasn't around. So a lot of people have theorized cancer or something, but it's like that doesn't comport to that. So it seems like it was some sort of, but it could have just been like a car accident. He doesn't want to talk about it or something. I don't know, but it is weird that if it was something simple, you'd think you'd just say it,
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, but anyways, point being is we can maybe I'll try to see if I can get him on. Maybe we can wildly speculate about how the Jews killed Thomas Massey's wife.
That's hilarious. If I remember something, I feel like there was an additional kind of like, I just remember that we talked about it on Already Dead when it happened. And it was kind of timing. I think I forget what it was that was happening around that exact time, but it had to do with Israel. And I believe Thomas Massey's kind of, sort of just his dismissive and rejection when it comes to that sort of official narrative when it comes to the Israeli conflict in general, and as far as any of the details are concerned, really, if in any way you're critical of Israel, right, like you become a target, and whether that's just character smears from AIPAC or serious right counters to your campaign to attempt to replace you, which we've seen many examples of that, right? But what I would say, like, something that we should all be aware of is the fact that, did you know how much Miriam Adelson gave to Trump for his Israel policy? Because it's very amazing.
Fuckload.
A shitload. And how the fuck can people look at something like that and just dismiss it or set it aside and justify this blind support?
Well,
I'm
but
not
it's
trying
40 chess, Austin.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is he's just then, once he gets in office, he's going to kind of do what he wants, because now he's used their influence, and that meant nothing to him. He's deep down inside. He's really he's gonna tell Israel, like, hey, like, very fine people on both sides. Let's come together. Like that's what's going to happen here, guys. That's what's
so great.
That's what's going to happen, right? Well, right.
Hey, that's what I hear, man. That's what I hear. But that's the problem, right? Is that, like, you what he just recently even said he was going to remove the Jew haters. That's a campaign promise, right? Like, wasn't it, besides hanging out with Ben Shapiro at, like, the tomb
Rabbi,
I
forget the name of the guy, but that's the guy. That's the fucking Tunnel Jews. That's the Tunnel Jews' fucking final boss, is what that is.
Oh my god, man.
Yeah, he's their Rebbe, or whatever the fuck they call him, and he's the one that there's a literally sects of Messianic Lubavitcher Chabad fucking Jews that think this guy is their Messiah, and that he's either going to come back alive or be reincarnated into somebody else. There's like multiple views on it, but yeah, no, that's legit. Like, their belief system is this motherfucker is coming back somehow. And we had crazy. Fucking Ben Shapiro fucking pulling fucking Trump along by the pocket, and fucking having him fucking
the yarmulke.
I forget what he was doing. What was it, something to do with his grave, the grave of the Rebbe or some shit.
Yeah, he went to
very bizarre. Feels occult.
Oh,
feels like kissing the feet of their Messiah, which is creepy.
Very creepy.
Yeah, Tunnel Juice does need a band name. Tunnel Juice is like one of my favorite things to say.
It really is hilarious.
Because it was a thing, and like, you can't accuse me. It's not a crass thing. I'm not being crass. Mm-hmm. It's just that happened, and that was hilarious, and it was awesome, and will not be forgotten.
For real.
Yeah,
for sure, man. But I pulled that up because the Independent ran an article on Trump's kind of statements, but then also sort of just outlined where he was, why he was there, and also some additional statements that he made to the Jewish congregation, or whatever the hell you want to call it. So basically, Donald Trump at the Doral, that the golf club, right? Or isn't that, where the hell was the Doral that he made these statements at? The Doral Golf Club in Florida. Yeah, Trump National Doral Golf Club. But this was on October 7, right? First anniversary. And so he says that he will defend our American Jewish population. And then he goes on to say, I will protect your communities, your schools, your places of worship, and your values. We will remove the jihadist sympathizers and Jew haters.
I will be the Messiah of the Jews.
We're going to remove the Jew haters who do nothing to help our country. I will build the third temple.
I will usher in the end times. It will be great. God's coming back.
100%. Like, he's leaning into it so much that, to me, it's like there's a reason for this. I have seen it firsthand.
I'm sorry. I have to get into this, dude. They literally have a coin. They have a temple coin with King Cyrus on it.
Yeah.
And Trump, like that's their Moshiach.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's amazing. And
Just
but
had to get
you're
in here on that.
100% right.
Yeah,
No, you're not wrong.
y'all are 100% spot on.
There's something weird going on there. He is very much a
no.
Moshiach figure too. You're like, that would be too perfect.
Oh, yes. And just as far as I'm concerned, when it comes down to it, the level of influence, man, it's such a struggle because I see it in my own family, and I love my family. I'm never trying to speak ill of them for the most part. I'm just playing. But honestly, like I very much struggle when it comes to the fact just that Christian Zionism, right, is embedded in our culture and very much influencing the psychology of American Christians. And specifically, as far as I'm concerned, my personal, you know, attachment and kind of perspective was a Southern Baptist, right? I mentioned even privately before we came on that I specifically remember, you know, singing the hymns in the congregation of the Southern Baptist Church. We're marching to Zion, beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. And I'm just like hindsight, you know, like a full congregation of Americans in the South. And they view Israel as God's nation. You know, like it really is that deep when it comes to their interpretation. And
Yeah,
so
wild. It's pretty cucked when you
sad,
think about
man.
it too.
Yeah.
It's just really
The level,
the more you think about it, the more pathetic it is.
It is.
Especially when you realize that it's like in the Christians, you know, belief system, it's like the Jews, and I've heard different, you know, takes on this, but the Jews denied the Messiah, and you know, by being Jews they're denying the Messiah. Like they're aware you have your Messiah and they're saying no. So it's like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should have like some beef with them, but it's like the idea that you should be like cucked out to these guys that are like, yo, not even like really like about what you're about. So what is, I don't know. It just seems silly. It seems silly. I see someone. All right, so what's y'all's solution to all these problems y'all whine about? Sell all y'all shit and move along to jerk off in the woods? Yeah, kind of, honestly, somewhat, to some extent. No, you know, this is a fair point. And to be fair, we are just kind of whining about it. But I do think there is.
I'm annoyed.
Honestly, the day, like, if you're expecting something big and grand out of this show, I don't know about you, but I'm just like to talk about things I find interesting, and other people show up for it. And people, I think, you know, get something out of it if this is what they want to listen to. So whatever,
and I hope
they're learning more things, and I hope that people get something of value out of it, and that know that's where the value comes from. Now, the idea that I'm going to solve some world's problem, I don't know, but at the end of the day, you know, whatever.
The solution lies within the community of just our ability to have this small group of people who, you know, are sort of like-minded in many ways, specifically, you know, principally, you know, which doesn't that matter more than anything almost, right? Is your foundational principles and how you live your life, and you conduct your life with, you know, with your I just think that how you treat your family and your friends and that is paramount to all else, even when it comes down to these subjects that I'm extraordinarily passionate about and affect me, you know, very much emotionally and psychologically. Unfortunately, I'm a very sensitive person. It's just who I am. Yeah. But I will say that, you know, this, I don't know, it almost feels conceited to act as if I have some sort of solution to offer. My solution lies within meeting people who are worthwhile, right? And
this is talking politics for those that have given up on politics. Yeah,
I think that's exactly what it is.
That's like exactly a tagline for my show. Actually, you know, I feel like for specifically Already Dead, talking politics for those that have given up on politics.
Because I will be honest, I'm attempting to convert all of you to stop voting. I will be entirely.
I think you're wasting your fucking time
when it comes to that. And again, it's like
literally, unless you're intending on hurting someone instead with that time. Basically, almost anything else you can do is like I could literally make a mathematical argument for it having more value. Like,
100%, man.
So
Yeah,
just
it's more
saying.
worth your time to just read up on a lot of these, specific issues and these details that go very much unacknowledged, and for the vast majority of people are to say they're unaware is almost, kind of
Yeah.
an understatement. But yeah,
Yeah, and I've
it's
also
just
given up on the idea that I'm like, oh, well, I learned about this thing that's like, oh, now everyone else is going to learn about it, and then we're going to really make a change. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I do still want to make a change. Like, I still, for example, with like the Oklahoma City bomb, I do think there's room for things
yes.
to move along the way. Like, obviously there is, ground being made with like trying to do and his, court stuff that he's still going stuff. Through. So I think that is, pushing the envelope. It may, end up having some sort of result of people knowing more about what the government does to them. But at the end of the day, it is, 1 second, let me see. I got JC. He's using there we go. After hearing a podcast on the big agro cartel that monopolizes American livestock distribution for the whole country, I came away believing they unalived Rhonda Massey. The the cartel for livestock distribution. Okay, agriculture, agro. I was confused with agro, but yeah, agriculture cartel. Yeah, okay, a little wild. Okay, all right. I mean, that would make sense. Yeah, definitely. There's probably vested interest that him trying to do the right thing in that realm is going to cause some issues. Yeah, don't vote. Keep training the rifle. Might spend the rest of your life regretting you didn't. All right.
Yeah.
Why throw the crazy sauce on stuff? Weather control DARPA, yeah, it does wild shit, but also triggers people to tune out completely. People don't want to hear the truth 24/7. I mean, if you're someone that lets cause you tune out, then this just isn't your thing. I don't know what to tell you. Like, for one, we do this once a week, so it's like,
yeah.
Not really. I mean, if it was a daily show, that makes sense. But I don't know. This is the audience it's for. It's not. I'm not a normie audience. I don't really feel like this show is something. If you're recommending this to a normie, I don't know what you're doing.
I know
this isn't normie content. I mean, like now
Exactly.
some of my content I have back there. Like if you're like, oh, check out this series in Oklahoma City, or I don't know, maybe some of my series. Maybe some of my live reading series, maybe if it's a book, sure. Yeah. But like this, no, don't recommend it to normies.
That right there, that makes sense to me, because the indoctrination is very real. It is very deep, right? I just can't bring myself to not vote. It feels like giving up, but I'm retarded. You're not retarded. It does feel like giving up. Yeah. It's because we've been indoctrinated to believe it's valuable, that it truly holds some sort of that voting actually brings accountability, is what we're supposed to believe, right? But I mean, how many different times can we point to the fact that you can't kind of hold like two countering philosophies in your mind at the same time? You can. It's cognitive dissonance, but it truly is like, did they inevitably steal the election in 2020? Because it felt as if they did, and I feel like I have plenty of evidence to prove that out in many ways, right? But of course you can't say that the entire thing was stolen, and you can only point to specific details that kind of provide credibility.
By the way, I have a call coming in, so I gotta set that up, but keep going.
Awesome. Yeah, but anyway, I just think it's very frustrating when you witness people kind of believing that they have some sort of a card to play, accountability card, when it very much seems like that's the illusion, right? The two-party illusion to keep the revolutionary class at bay, to keep us, and of course, we can point to really the feminization of men, all the different agendas at play that have truly just eradicated the revolutionary class in general, right? There's no way, in my mind, I cannot imagine a world where the average American is capable, like equipped, let alone capable right, of actually, presenting some sort of threat to a tyrannical oppression, this state.
All right, we got our call in ready to go, Austin. Hey, welcome to Already Dead. You're here with Jose and Austin. What's up, my man?
I can't hear him, Jose.
1 second, hold up.
There you
Sorry, keep going. Say who you were again. I had you muted. My bad. I did this last time. Yeah.
That's good. I was just seeing what's up or what y'all thinking of if y'all saw Kamala Harris's policy that she came out with, like for black men, because I guess they told her, they're like, hey, you're losing the black male vote. So she was like, damn, what are they? They probably suck at paying back loans, so let me provide 1 million loans that are fully forgivable up to $20K for black entrepreneurs, support educational training, mentorship programs, lead to good paying jobs for black men, protect cryptocurrency investments for black men, launch a national health initiative focused on the illness that disappropriately impact black men. So she might be talking about the Kardashians there. Legalize recreational marijuana and create opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this industry. I just thought that she was like, oh man, I'm just going to legalize marijuana and that'll help black people. Like, isn't that the fucking craziest fucking shit?
Brother.
Yeah, it is.
Preparations, doc.
Yeah, and I was like, well, that's kind of, I mean, it just seemed crazy to me. Like if she was like, hey, we're going to have, free tacos for Hispanics or some shit. I'd be like, damn, that's kind of cool, but what the fuck? And with the Tim Waltz shit, I guess where there's some dude's like, he fucking sucked me off because he thought I was gay, and now he was confused because he's like, shit, am I gay now? And then he's coming out saying that he took him to some concerts when he was in high school, I guess in the 90s, and that he left when he got that DUI because he was hanging out with that teenager, and that's when he dropped him off, I guess, or whatever, and then got pulled over. I don't know how much those allegations are. It's kind of random and weird timing, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Waltz is a little fruity.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors. Well, these are good topics for us to riff on. I appreciate you calling. You got anything else for us?
No. I was just gonna see what y'all's thoughts on that, since it was kind of, I just saw this recently, so
yeah, those are good
throw
ones.
That out there for y'all.
Well, appreciate you calling in, brother. You have a good one. All right.
Already, y'all too.
All right, see you, man.
Thanks,
Bye.
brother.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That instantly reminded me of Kamala's 60 Minutes interview. And also of Magic Johnson at her rally.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Specifically addressing young black men, right? And realizing as soon as he makes that statement that he has to qualify it because it's basically racist. And then he essentially goes on to say how black men need to support Kamala, right? Meanwhile, all you really have to do is look up a picture of Magic Johnson with his own son.
Yeah.
And you might think twice about, heeding his advice.
They're really, it seems like my buddy Clint actually did an episode on this, and I don't know if the numbers bear it out or if there's truth to it or what, but it seems like the left is losing the black vote, at least black male vote. They are getting sick of their shit. And it's just getting condescending. Like you said, you're Magic Johnson, they're brought out to stump up for him, but it's like, I feel like a lot of black men know, like I've seen the photo of like him with his fucking 6'3" or whatever the fuck brolic ass son in a dress, and then fucking, and then everyone, knows the rumors about Barack. And it also just seems Barack just sounds so condescending, almost as if like he's the fucking the elevated one, the smart one, and I'm gonna get all you blacks to come do what I want. That's what it kind of comes off as to people. I think people are getting sick of it. It is funny that it is all these like nice things that are like, well, that's cool, I guess, but like, what the fuck? Like the marijuana thing, like what this is specifically for black dudes? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm cool with it. Like, do that. I mean, but just the audacity of this bitch to like. Also, like, not at all be like, yo, I fucked up before, or some sort of
mention why Tulsi crucified her, and
some sort of recognition of a change, which she hasn't. This is a point many people brought up, that she runs on nothing. So it's like, she has nothing she stands for. So it's like, it makes sense that you would be that boldly just be like, yep, fucking weed. Like your big thing was being a drug warrior and people hating you for that, the first go around. So,
sure.
what was the other thing you brought up? All right, we got the black thing, and then Tim Walz. Yeah, I need to look into that. I've heard.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, anyone, every now and then I do want to let people know that there's some people out there that tag me, and I know you as well, in stuff online, or if you do find stuff, feel free to send it, whether to DM or tag me. I see that, and a lot of times I'm like, that does enter into, I may not be able to check it out that very moment or whatever, but I appreciate you guys that do that. Just saying, it comes in handy a lot. So tag me.
The Child does that all the time. Yeah. He's cool, man. I like him.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there's something weird. There's like weird. I've seen people making pedophilic and gay accusations toward Tim Walz, which, you know what? Checks out. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Are they not all at this point?
Like, for the most part? Whatever. He's in the political realm. It checks out. Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me. Sure, why not?
For sure.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I go into it, almost. I don't like having baked in assumptions and some sort of bias, but you can't help it once you've realized and you've traced all of these different connections to these individuals who are just inevitably compromised by sexual blackmail. So that seems like the way of the world in Washington, D.C., right?
Speaking of sexual blackmail, it seems like the Western countries are pushing for Ukraine to lower their draft age from 25 to 18. That's the new push right now. It's weird because it just keeps feeling like we should be getting the announcement at some point, like, hey, we're winding down Ukraine. It just feels that way. Like, everyone knows. It just seems the writing's on the wall. I don't know if it's just dragging the feet till after the election, hoping that then whoever's the person in there can just full charge ahead, go with it, hoping it's their person. I don't know. Will Trump? This is a one maybe good thing about Trump is I feel like he would be more inclined to behave better on this issue. Will he? I don't know.
He's the only one running on sort of winding down the Ukraine conflict.
Yes, which it does really seem like they're fucking It seems they really, 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 really want that still, which is like you'd think just the smart move would be just to like cut your losses, but it seems they really want it. A lot of people have alluded to that's part of why, the attempts on his lives or the multiple attempts on his life. I don't know. It seems wild that it'd be all over like something that's already a losing PR battle. Maybe they're just really set on just being like, no, we're fucking doing it no matter what. Like, because usually with these things, they like to have the appearance that there is some level of consent of the governed and that there's some small contingency of people that are like, okay, but or at least a perception that people can think there is. But it's like, I just feel like we've gone to a point with the Russia thing where it's like, who really thinks that there's any level of consent of the governed in this?
No
kidding. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just, you think that they just cut tail on this already or cut their losses, but just, they seem really committed to it. Why? I don't know. I know a lot of people get into the schizo world of like the reasonings, whether it be Khazarian shit or whatever. I don't fucking know what the reasoning, why they're so set. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand the mechanisms of what's going on there and why they are so set on bleeding dry every bit of, Ukrainian and Russian blood they possibly can out of this ordeal. But for some reason they're set on it. I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I find it interesting because it does seem like they're like preparing us for the pivot, right? It does seem that way. And so it's like, okay, we're willing to wind down in Ukraine, right, for a cost, and that cost is usually very high, and meanwhile we have not only China, sort of encircling Taiwan in many ways and consistently just trying to remind the West that this is a red line, and then you have North Korea as well. Like, they just recently threatened to invade South Korea because of drones essentially infiltrating their capital city. And so the usage of drones, like Kim Jong-un himself threatened South Korea and said that they are prepared to invade if it happens to turn out this way. And so, yeah, that makes sense to me. This seems like this is how, right, an international world conflict kind of sparks, right? Like the spark really is provided by this manufacturing, all of this sort of military time strategy. It's all been staged for years and years. This has been the ultimate goal, a wider regional conflict in the Middle East, while you sort of involve these what I would think, the American empire would consider their more relevant threats being China and Russia, right? To sort of attempt to bleed them dry in a lot of these proxy conflicts and proxy wars, and that's always been kind of the conceptual strategy when it comes to just luring the Soviet Union into Afghanistan to begin with. We all know that was the strategy.
Al-Qaeda, fund, arm, and train the hell out of them, then turn them heel, instant enemy. There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the move.
Exactly. Yeah, and people don't understand the Sunni Shia divide and the difference in ideology in the Islamic world.
It's too perfect. Like, we literally have the Azov Brigade. Like, literally now they can, they tamp down the rhetoric, and then 10 years from now, now we're fighting Nazis. And it's just too easy. You're like, oh, we're fighting Nazi. How they're like, we already have these people in the wings. It's like going to be really easy to turn PR against when the time comes.
Seriously,
literal Nazis. We just got to, in the meantime, like, pretend like we're not, like, I don't know, don't bring them up in regards to this ordeal, because whatever, there's just this one brigade over here, whatever,
Yeah.
That seems to be the move. All right, one last thing before we get out of here. I want to know, you seem to have looked into this a little bit, and I guess there was some nerd shit that happened recently with the archive stuff. A lot of that stuff which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Now, is this in any way connected to that weird big crash a while ago? Because I know a lot of people were theorizing. Now, is this like people later then being like, oh shit, this was this was connected?
All I'm saying, man, it's the report from Iron Mountain. It's Operation Lockstep. This is a part of the plan, which is these cyber attacks, right? Which people need to research the tabletop exercise and the training simulations and training exercises known as cyber Polygon, and they hold them annually. And this year, September 10th through the 11th of all dates, was when Cyber Polygon 2024 was just hosted. Over 20 countries were involved. And I've mentioned before that Klaus Schwab himself has threatened us with an impending cyber attack, right? That will essentially black out the grid and potentially, this is what people are speculating, but in reality, what he's really threatening is that he says that it will make COVID pale in comparison, these cyber attacks. And if you consider all of, not only the CrowdStrike attack, but you also had these massive nationwide online banking, basically it all went offline for a short period of time, right? And there was a kind of a panic. I heard many different people just immediately check their bank account. It said like zero balance. They freaked out and went straight to the bank, right? And I heard many different people claim this as well. And so after it goes offline, the Internet Archive Wayback Machine, essentially it's what the claim is, and The Verge reported on this as well, is basically that it's back online now, but only in a read-only state after this alleged cyber attack brought down the digital library and Wayback Machine last week. And this was reported on the 14th, so yesterday. And so this data breach and DDoS attack kicked the site offline on October 9th with a user authentication database containing 31 million unique records also stolen in recent weeks. So you have all these different email addresses, which mine was definitely in there. But still, it's like ridiculous, right? All this actual information, this contact information that you provided Internet Archive has now been leaked and allegedly, you know, pretty much just trafficked all over these digital spaces. And so,
Wait, so they took user information from way
Yeah.
back, or was
but
it?
also,
But
not only
also
that,
archived, take that.
yes,
Because the big thing here is obviously user information, obviously whatever, not good, but blah blah.
Right.
It's like par for the course with any sort of online anything or other.
Right.
But now the question is like, were the fact this is an archival type, that's what this thing does. It stores things. It's a library for all of the things.
Yes.
Now, did it make some of those things go bye bye?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the issue, is that now it's only a read only state at this point, which means all the videos and all the other content is essentially gone. And then, yeah, you have many different examples of information that was once on the site now has been removed and is no longer available.
It's forever unless you're CIA. Yeah.
Man, the dead internet, man. Yeah, it's a real thing. And for people not in this world, not consistently researching these things, you don't realize what a resource Internet Archive Wayback Machine is, man. Like, I use it consistently all the time. And yeah, I'm concerned because it does seem like the playbook is to frequently, whenever you get the chance, sort of.
And you know what? And that adds to the point we were talking about earlier. Like, what is even the purpose of shows like this? It's just another voice in there, another data point that makes some of these things undeniable as they're actually being things that are being talked about. Because I think people undervalue, stuff like that. Like, there's so many things that like you could go into a Wayback Machine and delete and just gone. Yeah. But now if you have, say, some podcasts that one day, I don't know, let's say in one of our fucking Finders Cults ones, I don't know if we did, or one of our many episodes, let's say we brought up one of the FOIA documents or something along the lines on a screen. Now, what happens when that disappears off some archival thing? You know what? Now it's on some YouTube video and someone can screen cap that from some, you know what I mean? So just like simple things like that. Just another voice to add to the storm. It adds up, I mean, but at the end of the day, I think if you're taking it too seriously, you're overthinking it anyways. So like, whatever. Sure. We're just here talking about stuff that we find interesting, and hopefully you guys find interesting.
It's certainly therapy for me, brother. Like, I'm being honest. Like, I this is almost required for me at this point. Like, if I don't have some sort of outlet, I might spin off the planet like Gary Busey. I don't know what the
honestly, it's mostly just because like my wife doesn't want to hear the other shit. So that's where this stuff was born out of. So
I'm just screaming monologues at my wife in the front room, and she's just like, I don't fucking care.
And people you meet in normal life, like at work and stuff, they, nothing against them. They don't really seem to. It's not like I'm gonna like talk to my coworker about Austrian economics or fucking the Elohim City or whatever. And like I might be able to get them to talk a little bit, but it's like it's whatever. It's not their thing, which is fair. But I don't know. We're at an hour and a half now, bud. So I think we will probably call it quits here. Let us know, who do you guys want as a guest. We probably should try to get a guest next week. I'm gonna try to maybe I'll hit up a few different people, see if we can get somebody for next week. But let us know, who do you guys want for future guests. But Austin, let them know where they can find you at. Let them know what you're working on, if you're working on anything. Let us know what we got coming up next. I'm looking forward to the next bit of Austin.
Yeah, I'm going to have to really kind of make my official decision within the next 24 hours because I'm really just considering a few different subjects. But yeah, I don't know. Namrock hit me up. He's like, dude, you might want to just chill for another week or so because I was really considering going immediately into the Hosanna Church scandal.
Oh, yeah. I actually heard you guys talk about it, and I was like, I kind of want you to do that. So
it's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see if my better judgment, wins the day, or if I can't help myself and I feel too obligated to cover it. We'll see what happens. But I will say, man, like to that point earlier, my entire goal is I'm philosophically opposed to the state, right? So my primary goal is to just in the best way and most honest way I possibly can approach this. Just come in with the intent of adding credibility. This is what I said, and really what I appreciate about William and a lot of the guests that we've had on is that the world that we reside in, right, which is kind of like it's kind of like this fine balance between the parapolitical world and this sort of underlying covert, manipulation that is occurring, beyond the veil and of public scrutiny. That's what I'm obsessed with, is sort of adding credibility to that area, right? Bridging that gap, because I feel like it's so fucking important when everyone is just so eager to dismiss any of these claims, right? And once you take the time out of your day and you probe just an inch below the surface and you discover the real world that exists around you, that's when you start to ask questions. That's when the veil truly falls to the wayside and you begin to wonder what they're actually capable of and how can you prove that to be a reality. And so anyway, that's my goal, is to just kind of poison the well when it comes to people's naive, just perspective on government itself philosophically. It's just, I feel like we have to poison that well. That's my target. But anyway, so thank you all for listening in the first place, but supporting us. I cannot thank you enough, honestly, because it means the world to me. And so I appreciate you all. Jose, I missed you for real. Like, I missed you last week. Having you not here, I realized how much I require you to be here, because honestly, brother, like you do keep me from going too far off into certain directions where it would be a little difficult to make my way back. But yeah, I just want to say thank you, brother.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and we'll keep doing this. I do want to give a shout out to my my patrons as well. You really did come in clutch. I mean, with all this hurricane stuff, for those who aren't aware, my work situation is like, if I don't work, I don't get paid. I'm not a salary person, so like during all this hurricane stuff, I'm not getting paid. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm like poor and I can't like pay my mortgage or anything, but I am telling you guys out there that do support the show, it does really come in handy for times like this. I also do try to, when I can, use it for show-related stuff, whether it's like new mics. I mean, you guys know this mic that I have now is like kind of like top of the line. It's a few $100 for this. I mean, I also like to, reach out to Candace about the Oklahoma City bombing stuff. I try to when I can, but also at the end of the day, like a lot of this does go into helping me, helping me around the edges with bills when I need to be. And so this did help. I'm sorry, I promised you guys some more possible morning streams, but with the whole power situation, that didn't work out. So hopefully I'll get some more morning streams for you guys to make it up. Patreon's $2, boys. Jose and Austin are cheap dates. I don't know how much Austin's is, but definitely go support Austin as well.
We got a Rumble rant from Nephilim Death Squad.
Ooh, keep on fucking hard, boys. Hell yeah.
Thank you, Raven.
Thanks, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
Help support him too. He went through a rough thing with that, so I believe that's Raven. So definitely go check out if that's your shtick. If you like Nothing Death Squad, definitely go check that out. Definitely support them. But we definitely appreciate the support. So but I do want to give a shout out to my sponsors. It's patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you the early episodes. That allows you to be a talking head next to me, Austin, and Jules if his face happens to be up at the time. But my highest level, I read them off every episode. That's my highest level patron. My co-host, Toad from Tower Gang, at Tower Gang Toad, at Abrogate D's, at ZOVERACK, then at _Infinite Zeal, then Jacob Daniel of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast. Follow him at Biblical Anarchy. And then also have Tim Tuttle at John Klebold. And then Will Bell with this delicious Rabbit Eye Blueberry Wine. Highly recommend it. It is delicious stuff. But if you guys want to support, I really do appreciate it. It does come in handy, and I try to push it to where I can. But at the end of the day, you got to put money into what you want to see more of. So I mean, shit, if I was getting a lot more money, I'd be doing a lot more of this because that's just how that works out because we have real lives and stuff. So I can only devote realistically so much time to this without literally detracting from my living situation. So it's a balancing act. I try to put in more than I take out, but it's a balancing act. So if you guys want to contribute, I do appreciate it. But yeah, follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Yeah, definitely help boost us up in the algorithms. That's how we get these things going. Leave a review, whether that's on me or Austin's channel, since we put this out to both of our audio podcatchers. But yeah, with that, we are out of here. Oh, go follow Jules.
Go follow me, guys.
Yeah,
I'm on YouTube and Rumble.
Bye-bye.
On X.
Bitches. All right.